At the Singapore GP, the two McLaren teammates collided on lap 1. A brush of wheels, a shout on the radio, and suddenly the title fight isn't just about speed, it's about trust, respect, and internal warfare. Lando Norris versus Oscar Piastri. What was hard racing and what was something more? McLaren's internal review might reveal the truth, but what's already exposed is far more dangerous than broken wings. Before we dive into the fallout, here's a quick pit stop. If you live and breathe Formula One, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're building a paddock of fans who love the rivalries, the controversies, and the unseen battles that shape the championship. Strap in, subscribe, and let's break down one of the most dramatic teammate clashes of the season. The Singapore Grand Prix has always been a pressure cooker. The heat, the walls, the glare of the floodlights, it turns every driver error into a headline. This time, the drama wasn't Verstappen chasing a win or Russell pulling off a masterpiece. The main story was painted in papaya orange. From the moment the lights went out, the stage was set for tension. George Russell launched into the lead, Max Verstappen slotted behind, and McLaren's two cars went wheel to wheel into turn 3. Lando Norris, aggressive as ever, threw his car down the inside. Oscar Piastri, who had the line, suddenly found himself squeezed, his teammate's front wing brushing his side pod. Piastri was forced wide. Norris emerged ahead, sliding into third, while Oscar had to regroup in fourth. The move was decisive, but costly in ways that will echo for weeks. On the team radio, Piastri's frustration boiled over immediately. That's not fair, sorry. That's not fair. If he has to avoid another car by crashing into his teammate, that's a pretty bad job of avoiding. It was raw emotion, the kind of unfiltered anger that makes fans sit up. This wasn't the calm, measured Piastri we've come to know. This was a driver who felt betrayed in the opening seconds of a championship-defining race. Norris, unsurprisingly, saw things differently. He defended his aggression after the race. I got a big gap on the inside of Oscar. The aggression there and the forward thinking paid off. I wasn't trying to hit him. I clipped Max first, and that's what made it tighter. In Norris's view, it was classic racing, a risk that worked. But for Piastri, it crossed an invisible line. The unspoken rule of F1, don't wreck your teammate. McLaren's bosses were quick to intervene, not on track, but in the press pen. Team principal Andrea Stella tried to keep a lid on things. We will review the situation together with our drivers. We want to let them race. This might be another moment to fine-tune our approach. The CEO Zak Brown was even more defiant. You can't win the constructors without two awesome racing drivers. We're letting them race. They race hard, they race clean, and they race to win. We won't penalize aggression. But for many watching, those comments sounded like damage control. Let them race is easy to say when you've already locked the Constructors' Championship. But what about the driver's title still hanging in the balance? Can you afford to risk two of the fastest cars taking each other out? This isn't an isolated moment. Tension has been simmering all year. Piastri started 2025 brilliantly. Smooth, composed, ruthless when needed. He built a points lead, carrying himself like a driver who'd been in the sport for a decade. Norris, meanwhile, finally had a car worthy of wins, but suddenly found himself second best. For a driver who dragged McLaren through the lean years, that was a bitter pill. There were signs earlier. In Monza, Piastri was asked to yield position to Norris after a messy pit stop. He complied, but not without frustration. It's the team's call, he said at the time, before adding quietly, we'll talk about it later. That ledger of sacrifices is remembered when teammates clash. Each time one yields, the debt builds. Singapore was the moment Piastri decided enough was enough. Andrea Stella admitted Singapore could be a turning point in how McLaren manages its stars. They've both been fantastic all season, but we have to make sure moments like this don't repeat. We want our drivers to race hard, but also with respect. It's that word, respect, that feels central, because after Singapore, it's clear that trust inside McLaren is under strain. Piastri was careful in the paddock to tone down his anger. Once I have the full picture, then yes, undoubtedly, we will speak about it, he said. He wanted the telemetry, the angles, the data, but the look on his face said more than the words. He wasn't happy. He switched off his radio just as Zak Brown was congratulating the team on sealing the Constructors' Championship. Later, he explained it was because of car issues. But symbolism matters in F1. Fans and pundits saw it as a quiet protest, a refusal to celebrate what felt like a hollow victory. Norris, on the other hand, doubled down. It's racing, he shrugged. If I hadn't gone for it, I'd be criticized for not being aggressive enough. He made no apologies. To him, the clash was just the price of ambition. The paddock weighed in. Martin Brundle said bluntly, "The ground rules have changed." He wasn't just describing a single turn 3 overtake, he was diagnosing the fracture in McLaren's team spirit. What had been an alliance, two young guns pushing each other, was now a rivalry with consequences. And history looms over all of this. F1 has seen teammate battles explode before. Senna vs Prost at McLaren, Hamilton vs Rosberg at Mercedes, Vettel vs Webber at Red Bull. Each began with moments like Singapore, small touches, sharp words, and growing mistrust. Each ended with fractured relationships and, in some cases, lasting scars. McLaren has lived this before. They know how quickly let them race can spiral into let them fight. What makes this even more combustible is the championship fight. Piastri's lead has shrunk to just 22 points over Norris with 6 races to go. That's nothing. One DNF, one clash, one mechanical failure could swing it completely. Both drivers know the margin is razor thin. Both know that yielding now could mean losing forever. In that pressure cooker, trust is usually the first casualty. Stella and Brown now face an impossible decision. Do they impose team orders, risk being accused of favoritism, and potentially alienate one of their drivers? Or do they keep letting them race, risk another clash, and watch their drivers' title hopes implode? Neither option is attractive. Both come with consequences. For Norris, Singapore was a statement of intent. "I'm not backing down," was the message between the lines. For Piastri, it was a betrayal and an awakening. If he wants this title, he'll have to fight not just Verstappen and Russell, but his own teammate. And then there's the psychology. Piastri has always been calm, robotic almost, in how he handles pressure, but his radio messages in Singapore were heated. If Norris has gotten under his skin, that could change how he races. Norris, meanwhile, thrives in chaos. He's always raced on instinct, on the edge. That makes him dangerous, but also volatile. Singapore proved that when he sees a gap, even against his teammate, he'll take it. The next race looms large, where side-by-side racing at high speed is inevitable. Imagine Norris and Piastri diving into 130R together. The memory of Singapore will hang in the air. Every move will carry double meaning. Every overtake will feel like revenge. And rivals are watching. Verstappen, Russell, Leclerc. They know a divided McLaren is a vulnerable McLaren. If Norris and Piastri start taking points off each other, the title could slip away entirely. For fans, this is manna from heaven. For McLaren, it's a nightmare. They wanted 2 stars pushing each other to greatness. What they have now is a rivalry that could define the season, for better or worse. The question isn't just who's faster, it's who the team truly believes in, who they trust, and who they're willing to back when the stakes are highest. Can Norris and Piastri rebuild the trust they shattered in Singapore, or will their battle drag McLaren into civil war? One thing is certain. The next time 2 papaya cars dive into a corner side by side, the world will hold its breath.